Fez is the third largest city in Morocco, with a population of around 1 million. At the core of the modern city of Fez is the ancient city, or Medina. With 120,000 people living within its walls, the Medina is believed to be the largest intact medieval city in the Islamic world. Founded at the start of the 9th century, the Medina encloses almost 14,000 buildings. Most date back to the 14th and 15th centuries. But over the last 30 years, the residents of the Fez Medina have been deserting the old neighbourhoods for the convenience of modern housing. The Medina of Fez was in economic and cultural decline. Historic assets like the Medina's tanneries, thought to be some of the oldest in the world, were decaying. Work to protect the city culminated in 1991, when the Moroccan government, lobbied by a professor of architecture, Abdel Latif El Hajami, established the Fez Development and Rehabilitation Agency. Under the leadership of Professor El Hajami, the agency has restored 2,000 buildings and is in the process of creating about 40,000 jobs. Our heritage hero of the Medina of Fez, Abdel Latif El Hajami. The Medina of Fez is encircled by 24 kilometres of fortified walls. These formidable defences have sheltered a largely self-reliant community for over 12 centuries. Abdel Latif El Hajami and his development agency had realised if they were to save the Medina, they first had to discover how it had prospered for so long.
La Médina est la quintessence de la civilisation islamique.
The Medina is the quintessence of Islamic civilization. When we try to build a coherent picture, we discover a civilization that is extremely interesting. And we discover we don't know the secrets well enough, and that we need to learn them to be able to make this civilization live again.
When El Hajami and the Rehabilitation Agency started work, around a third of the 9,000 historic homes within the Medina were badly run down. Some were collapsing and a hazard to their occupants. If the Medina was to stay a viable community, that meant embarking on a long-term repair programme, one aimed at staunching the exodus while keeping the ancient character of the Medina.
Here we find ourselves in a very old, perhaps more than 300 years old, traditional house, which was severely run down, in which two very poor families live, and these families were in real danger. The lady who is with us now almost went through the floorboards, so the house couldn't be left in such a state.
We live here, on the first floor, as you can see. We want to live in safety, because when you see that, like that, they are not homes where people can live and sleep. The days when there is heavy rain, we don't sleep. We always think the roof could cave in.
Here we are really using traditional techniques for restoration, with traditional materials, with baked bricks, with fermented lime and cedar wood. We don't skimp on the cost of restoring like this.
Now it's beginning to come back to life. It is coming back to life, in fact.
The Rehabilitation Agency covers half the expense of restoring private houses, and in the case of the poorest families, covers the whole cost. Alongside the work on homes, El Hajami's agency has restored historic public buildings in the Medina of Fez. Its main aim, he says, has been to build a sense of pride among the people of Fez.
Dévoiler les secrets de la Médina, connaître les fondements, c'était notre souci, relever les éléments du processus.
What we wanted to do with the preservation of Fez was to rebuild the elements of the past and reactivate them. Because if we simply concentrate on the tourist and the monument side, we would fall into what I would call the pleasure of some and the misery of others. So we try to rediscover the roots on a cultural and environmental basis.
All the historical and traditional sites are still used by the population, a fact which gives them a long-term future.
This is the fondouk of Nejarine, used by wood merchants since the Middle Ages when they came to Fez to sell their goods and services. Today, the fondouk has become the first Moroccan museum of wooden arts and crafts.
Nous utilisons ici le mot de fondouk.
Here we use the word fondouk. Translating literally, fondouk meant a hotel, a hostelry in the Middle Ages. This building was built in the 18th century, around about 1720, at the time of a great sultan of Morocco called Mullah Ismail.
The Medina of Fez also has some of the finest examples of university buildings.
The madrasas are extensions of the university in which students live and study as a specialisation of that university. For example, in the Bouinania madrasa, the specialisation is astronomy. Where we are right now is probably one of the finest examples of our architecture in Morocco. Mr. El Hajjami is someone who's had a big impact on this project through his commitment and dedication to the cause of historic cities. He could be considered one of the greatest specialists of historic cities of the Arab Muslim world.
Des villes historiques au niveau du monde arabo-musulman.